Hello, gentlemen, and welcome to the Men Save Your Marriage show. My name is Terry. I'm your host. I did an autopsy on my failed marriage, and now I use the lessons that I learned to coach other men on how to save their marriage before it fails. I'm going to share with you the things I wish someone would have shared with me before my marriage failed. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hello, gentlemen, and welcome back. You know what this means. You just heard the bell. That means that you and I are in the ring. Here we are again in the ring to fight, shoulder to shoulder for your marriage. My name is Terry, and as you know, this is the Men Save Your Marriage show, and this is episode number 78. We're going to continue on in our series today, talking about the silent war that men face, and today we are talking about the mask. This round isn't about fear or numbness. This time we're talking about the mask you wear, the version of you that others see, the controlled surface that hides the emotional battlefield underneath. Every man wears a mask. We all do it. We've been talking about men in different groups, the leader, the follower, maybe the man on the sidelines. Well, the leader wears a mask of certainty. The follower, well, he wears a mask of compliance. And the man that may be kind of out of the way, standing on the sideline, the mask that he wears, it's indifference. It's important to understand that masks are not lies, they're protection. They're the emotional armor that we learn to build when vulnerability feels unsafe. But here's the problem with that. You see, a mask, it keeps pain away, but it also keeps love away. And unfortunately, we can't selectively block the emotions. Because, again, as an example, if you were to block hurt, you're also blocking joy. If you were to block fear, you're blocking passion. And if you were blocking vulnerability, then you are blocking intimacy. You see, guys, the mask that protects you is the same mask that isolates you. Men lose marriages not because they don't love their wives, but because they cannot be seen by their wives. Women cannot bond with a man who refuses to be known. And today we're going to learn how masks develop, how they damage connection, and what it looks like to take them off, but do it without losing strength. So let's start and begin with the leader. The leader's mask is, well, leaders learn early in life that strength earns respect and weakness costs. So they build a mask of competence. The leader becomes the man who always has the answer, who always is in control, who kind of always looks calm even when he's breaking apart on the inside. And that mask, well, it works for a while. It inspires confidence. It kind of stabilizes other people around him and in his orbit, and it creates momentum. But the mask itself becomes a prison when it blocks intimacy. And see, leaders struggle with vulnerability because vulnerability feels almost inefficient. It slows things down. It stirs emotions. It exposes uncertainty. And in leadership roles, vulnerability can almost feel irresponsible. But in a relationship, vulnerability is essential. So this leader has a dichotomy going on. Your wife doesn't need you to be flawless. She needs you to be reachable. Your children don't need a superhero. They need a human father. And competence without vulnerability always ends up as emotional distance. You're kind of admired, but you're not well known. You may be respected, but you're not really received and welcomed. Sometimes you may be honored, but you're certainly not being held. The true mark of a strong leader, though, isn't how tightly he controls things. It's how fully he can connect while carrying pressure. The next mask that leaders use is silence. You stop sharing because, well, sharing just feels dangerous. You stop opening up because it feels messy. You start believing that your emotions are burdens to other people. So what do? And I'm guilty of this one. We all are on some level. You hold everything in. You protect everyone from your reality, and in doing so, you protect yourself from theirs. But silence, again, creates suspicion in marriage. She assumes that the distance between you two means disinterest. She assumes that when you're being quiet, that means resentment almost. She's also assuming that your composure, always trying to hold it together, that composure that you must have, well, she kind of interprets that as coldness. And if you're a leader, you weren't really trying to push her away. You were trying to protect her from your internal storm. But the reality is the same. She feels alone in your marriage and in your relationship. And the leader has got to learn to speak without collapsing and feel and have emotion without losing command. The final mask of the leader is image. If enough people call you strong, you kind of start to believe it, don't you? You're not allowed to feel weak then. And if enough people rely on you, you start believing that you're not allowed to need anyone else. You become addicted to the appearance of strength instead of the reality of it. And real strength, gentlemen, is not the absence of emotion. Real strength is the ability to hold emotion without being controlled by it. The leader's silent war is to remain accessible without losing his authority. He needs to stay steady without going numb, and he needs to stay strong without acting invincible. When a leader removes his mask, he doesn't lose respect, he earns loyalty. Now let's talk about the follower. The follower's mask. Well, followers wear a different mask. It's the mask of agreement. You want to be well-liked, well-received, non-threatening. You kind of fear disappointing people. You fear conflict, and you fear standing out. So you hide anxiety behind politeness and manners. You hide insecurity behind humor. And you're certainly hiding fear behind compliance. The follower's mask protects him from rejection, but also protects him from growth. Followers, they often think that politeness is kindness. It isn't. Politeness avoids conflict. Kindness enters conflict with compassion. If you never push back, you're not kind, you're afraid. If you never disagree, you're not agreeable, you're invisible. You've learned to make everyone comfortable except yourself. You've learned to avoid tension at all costs. This, gentlemen, destroys marriages. Because your wife cannot follow a man who edits himself to keep the peace. She needs a man who will speak the truth with calm authority. Honesty is not aggression. Honesty is alignment with reality. And you cannot build connection without truth. Now, one of the more common masks among followers is humor. It's easier to make a joke than to make a stand. It's easier to get a laugh than to risk being misunderstood. Humor kind of becomes the escape hatch for discomfort. You joke about serious topics to keep them from becoming real, and you laugh instead of feeling. But humor doesn't heal pain, it hides it. Every time you joke to avoid truth, you reinforce insecurity. Humor itself can be very powerful when it relieves tension, but it is destructive when it replaces truth. Followers learn to call passivity peace. They'll say things like, I don't want to fight, when what you really mean is you don't want to lose. Conflict scares you if you're a follower because conflict exposes you. It forces you to risk your value, risk rejection, and risk judgment. So a follower will usually avoid conflict in order to feel safe. But avoidance kills connection. Peace is not the absence of conflict. Peace is the outcome of working through conflict with strength. Followers only rise when they start valuing progress more than comfort. When they stop hiding behind compliance and start speaking with calm conviction. Your wife does not need a man who avoids storms. She needs a man who walks into storms but does so with purpose. And finally, let's talk about the man that is out of the way, that may be standing on the sidelines. See, the man that's out of the way wears the mask of indifference. He pretends he doesn't care so that he doesn't have to admit that he's hurting. His face doesn't move, his tone rarely changes, and his posture always stays rigid. He believes that the less that he reveals, the less that he can be wounded. But the less that he reveals, the truth is, the less he can be loved. Sarcasm is the mask that hides disappointment. You mock what you once hoped for, or you belittle what maybe you once wanted and desired. You make light almost of what once mattered deeply. It protects you from vulnerability by poisoning hope. You can't be disappointed if you pretend nothing matters. But you also can't be loved if you pretend nothing matters. Sarcasm is a shield that keeps everyone a safe distance away from you. Safe means untouched. Untouched, though, means unknown. And unknown, well, that means unloved. A man that is out of the way, standing on the sidelines, if you will, often believes his withdrawal is discipline. He'll say things like, I'm calm, I don't overreact, I don't start problems. But withdrawal is not maturity, it is fear. You leave the emotional room before you can be abandoned. You leave the conversation before you can be criticized. You'll leave the marriage emotionally before you can be hurt. And you think you're protecting your heart, but you're really digging a hole and burying your heart. You can't connect with anyone while hiding in an emotional shelter. Intimacy requires exposure. Let me say that again for everybody, the leaders, the followers, and the man on the sidelines. Intimacy requires exposure, and connection demands risk. Eventually, the mask that the man on the sidelines wears, it becomes the man. You forget who you were before you shut down. You stop remembering what joy feels like. You don't identify with your dreams, and you start identifying with your disappointments. But numbness is not an identity. It is injury. It's what happens when the heart stops believing that healing is possible. The way back is not dramatic. It is disciplined. It is daily. It is uncomfortable, and it is gradual. A man that is out of the way doesn't heal because someone rescues him. He heals because he chooses to return. So for all you men that are listening, that may be one of those that's standing on the sidelines right now, depending on where you are in your life and in your marriage, it's time to get back in the game, gentlemen. And let me wrap up here today with some final thoughts and some marching orders for you, gentlemen. As we finish, the mask is always built from pain. Regardless of what mask you're wearing, it is always built from pain. The leader, well, he feared failure. The follower was fearful of rejection. And that out of the way man, he feared heartbreak. Their masks kept them safe, Your masks are keeping you safe, but they also keep you separate. You can't love through a mask. You can't lead through a mask. You certainly can't heal through a mask. You're here listening to me because you want to save your failing marriage. Your wife cannot bond with the version of you that hides. Your children cannot anchor themselves to a man who never reveals himself. If you want connection, you must allow yourself to be known. Not recklessly, not emotionally out of control, but honestly. You don't need to pour your heart out. You need to stop pretending you don't have one. And here's the surprise. When you take off the mask, people don't lose respect for you. They finally get a chance to trust you. Strength without humanity pushes people away. Strength with honesty draws people in. Taking off the mask doesn't weaken you, it frees you. Because the man you pretend to be is exhausting. And the man you really are, gentlemen, he is enough. So here are your marching orders for this week and for this episode. And your task today is really simple. I want you to share one honest sentence with someone who matters to you. Not a big speech, not a confession, not a big emotional dump, none of that, just one sentence of truth. Something real, something that you've kind of been holding on to, something you normally keep to yourself. Because truth, gentlemen, opens the door. And this simple but powerful task is your way to choose connection instead of the protection of a mask. So choose connection today, because real men don't hide, real men receive, and real men allow themselves to be known. And on our next episode, we're going to go deeper. We're going to learn why men drift and how to return. In the meantime, I want to thank you, gentlemen. I hope this helps you. I look forward to hearing from many of you. As you know, you can reach out and text me anytime. But I want you to take this information, take this step, do this one simple task today and begin to remove the mask. As always, thank you for being here, gentlemen. I do appreciate your time, and I look forward to talking with you, texting with you, and I will see you in the next episode. Take care.